All right, welcome. I believe this is a CS 4500, software development. We're all in the right room. Welcome, my name is Jose Anunciado, and I'll be your instructor for this semester. I recognize a few of you from web dev. So there's two sections. This is section 2. We meet on Tuesdays and Fridays, 1:35 to 3:15. The other section is right after this section. And it's going to be very heavily focused on building a project throughout the semester, using software engineering practices. So there's some rumblings on that a better name for this course might be software engineering as opposed to software development. It's more focused on the process of building software, gathering requirements, representing them as and documenting them, creating automated build systems, designing, planning, analyzing. But we're actually going to be building something as we go. But the focus will be on the engineering side of this, as opposed to any particular programming skill that you might already have or that you will acquire. Right? Even though we will be building a web application, it's not focused on web development. It's all the software engineering that would go around building a web application. It could have been any other type of application. It just happens to be a web application. So we're going to be meeting here 3:05, 1:35 to 3:15. These are the TAs. Up to this point, we have 3. I hope to have another 3 by the end of the week. There's quite a few of you, and there's not enough of us, so we have to increment the number of TAs, or at least graders, to better serve you. But they're available here in the syllabus. If you go to your Blackboard, you should be able to get there from the syllabus. I was noticing some folks asking for access to this file, to this document. You should all have read access to this document. If somebody doesn't, please let me know. I don't know if I used the correct email to share this, but if you don't have access, please let me know, and I'll use that other email to give you access. So the syllabus should be available from your homepage right here in the course page. This is my information, Jose Anunciado. All of these lectures will be available online on YouTube, and they'll be made available the day after or shortly after, and will be made available here in either on Piazza or right on Blackboard. So you can follow along. Even though you can watch these lectures in remotely, I highly encourage you to be in class. There will be quizzes. Every week there will be a quiz that's in class, either on Tuesday or Friday. But you can expect a quiz every week, even if it's one question, really simple, 10 minutes and you're done. But to encourage you to be here, that's my email or Hangout. If the office hours that myself or the TAs are not enough, certainly we can jump on a Hangout. If it's out of office hours, we can share screen and perhaps help you out on something that you might be stuck. Please don't hesitate to contact me. That's my personal phone number. Please don't give it out. But please feel free to text me or call me if I haven't responded to you in an hour or so. Do not hesitate to give me a call. All right. If I don't respond, I might be speaking to some other student, or I might be in class. Leave a message and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. All right. So office hours right now, what I'm thinking is between 4:30 and 6, Mondays and Wednesdays, or by appointment. Although I'll add another one on Friday as well, since that's going to be also some folks are going to be there on Friday. The TAs are also going to share their contact information. In particular, they're going to be sharing their CCIS username. You should all have a CCIS username. If you don't, you need to apply for one, or go to System Admin in West Village H, and make sure that you do have a CCIS username. We're going to be using that to assign you an account on Jira and several other tools that we're going to be using throughout the semester. So please, if you don't have a CCIS, go and get one. I will be posting a form for you to fill out and give us your NEU ID. With your NEU ID, we can figure out what your CCIS account is. So please fill that out later this week, and we can set you up on Jira and several other tools. But nevertheless, that's their CCIS username. Also, this is their GitHub.com username as well. One of the things that we're going to be asking you this week is to invite these folks and myself as collaborators to any source repository that you are going to be creating throughout the semester. The first two assignments are going to be individual, but as we set up teams throughout the semester, we're going to be more and more working together in larger teams. Okay? And so we need to assign these projects and Jira Scrum boards and whatnot, and we need to CCIS to do that. And you need to use your either the CCIS account or your GitHub account to invite myself and the TAs as collaborators to your source repositories. More on that a little later. Course goals, as I mentioned earlier, this is a better name for this course would be software engineering, in the sense that building software is hard. If it's something that you're doing on your own and you're hacking at something, certainly you could do it just you and your buddy can hack something over the weekend. But if it's anything of substantial complexity, typically you have teams that are much larger, anywhere between 50 and 150 or 200 working on the same project, and that can become very chaotic very easily, right? We humans are flawed. We underestimate the risks. We underestimate the complexity. We overestimate our capabilities and skills. We have all sorts of biases and prejudices, and we're very subjective. And so we have to find objective ways to measure our progress, right? And software engineering is the attempt at applying engineering principles to software development, okay? And these are principles that would apply also to other endeavors, right? Not necessarily only software engineering, but we're going to be applying software engineering principles to software development in particular. So the lectures, we're going to have a lecture on Tuesdays, another lecture on Fridays. The first lecture on Tuesdays is going to focus mostly on theoretical stuff, right? So lots of slides. It will present concepts, why things are the way we think they are, and then on Friday it'll be a little more hands-on. Right? We'll perhaps introduce planning, right? A couple weeks from now, and we'll talk about Jira and Scrum and the different processes of moving a particular task, from being in the backlog, moving it into a particular sprint, and moving it across. We'll talk about that. What is Scrum? What is Agile development? And then on Friday we'll actually do it. Right? We'll together we'll create a project. We'll create a Scrum board. We'll assign some folks some task. We'll assign them to a particular board, and we'll move them across multiple elements in the Scrum board. Right? Same thing, right? A little later we'll do some design, and we'll do some class diagrams and UML sequence diagrams. We'll talk about UML and how to use it to design. Right? And then on Friday, we'll do a little more hands-on. We'll create Java classes. We'll create maybe a relational database. We'll map the data model to a MySQL set of tables, and we'll expose it as a web service. Right? And we'll do some hands-on Friday. So that's going to be kind of somewhat the cadence throughout the semester. Right? We'll split up in the first half of the week. It'll be somewhat theoretical, and then the other half will be more hands-on. Okay. So lectures split into that. Also, we're all going to be working in a project that's going to be going to take the entire semester. Right? And what we're going to do is that it's about 72 or 73 of you, and what we'll do is that we'll all split you in about 8 teams of 9 students each. Okay, and we'll call that an organization. or an organization of 9 folks, perhaps a startup, okay? A very small organization. And that organization will be made up of 3 different teams, right? Team 1, Team 2, Team 3 of that organization, right? And so in total it'll be 9 times 8, that's 72 students. Obviously there'll be some folks that drop, some folks that come in, so there'll be some chaos at the first, and that's fine, right? All projects are chaotic. That's the whole point of applying software engineering, right? Software engineering is messy. Right, it's very chaotic. There's a lot of frustration. There's a lot of miscommunication. Right, there's a lot of misunderstanding, and that's the whole point of applying software engineering practices. How do we deal with all that chaos? Okay? So anyway, so there'll be about 8 teams. Probably one of them will have 1 more student or 1 less student, perhaps. But that's fine. We'll round that off. And so all those 8 teams will be working on the same product. Okay, we had to choose a particular product so that we can normalize the grading, right, and make it somewhat administrative manageable for us instructors. And so those 3 teams, even though they're different teams in one organization, they're all going to be working towards building the same product, right, but different aspects of the product. Right? So team 1 maybe will focus on a particular set of features. Team 2 will focus on a different set of features, and Team 3 another set of features. Right? At the beginning, a lot of these features will not depend on each other. But as we progress throughout the semester, more and more these features will have to depend and integrate with one another. Okay? So we'll make it easy at first, so that some of these features will be independent of each other. But as we progress, they'll have to integrate. And dealing with stuff that I'm working, that you need, that I'm still waiting for you, right? And the different speeds at which each team works, right? That's part of the complexity, right, of managing software engineering projects, right? There'll be dependencies, folks waiting on other folks. Yeah. So how do you deal with that? So that's the whole point. Okay. So that folks don't get too complacent on their particular set of features, or if they feel burnt out on a particular set of features, what we'll do is that every 5 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks, we'll switch to teams. So a set of features that one team was working, now some other team is going to inherit that feature. Right? That's another problem in software engineering. Most of whatever you're going to be working on is going to be legacy. It's somebody else's code, right? Everybody's very excited about working on something new, but most of what you're going to be working is working on somebody else's code. Everybody hates working on somebody else's code. Okay, we all do, but nevertheless, it's a reality, right? You're going to look at somebody else's implementation. You're not going to understand it. You wish that they would have documented it better, and that's going to be part of it, right? You're going to be criticizing somebody else's code, and somebody's going to be criticizing your code. Right? Somebody's going to give a score on how well you documented, how well you name your variables, how well you left somebody else for somebody else's work. Yes. Is there going to be a code review process? Of course. Yes. Of course. Yes. As your colleague mentioned, starting next week, this week we'll introduce source control. Using GitHub for working on different feature branches, and we'll promote an attitude that the code belongs to everybody, right? The code doesn't belong to you; it belongs to the team. And whatever you can make it so that it's easier for the rest of the team, right? Going forward is even better, right? So your source code typically will outlive you long after you're gone from that project. Okay, so the code needs to be accepted by the entire team. The entire team needs to take ownership of that source code. And to promote that, we're going to be using a code review, right? Everybody's going to be working on a particular feature branch. They'll propose a pull request, right? And ask someone else to review your code. Right? And if that person accepts your changes, they are making themselves personally responsible for your source code. Okay? They should accept your source code as if the next day they're going to have to debug it, right? They're going to have to step through it if there's something wrong with that source code, right? So there'll be some back and forth between teammates, right? Criticizing in a positive manner, criticizing your own code so that you increment the quality of the source, right? So yeah, source control. Anyway, so yeah, so we're going to be working on a project all throughout. One of the challenges of teaching courses, project courses, and software engineering in particular is that the level of skills is going to be not evenly distributed. Some of you perhaps have been on co-ops, some of you have not. So some of this you've already seen. I'm guessing that maybe half of you will be bored out of your mind and says, I've seen this in real life, and half of you are not going to know what the heck I'm talking about. All right. So it's a very fine line to walk, where half of you think I'm going too fast and half of you think I'm going too slow. And if I've achieved that, that'll be a success. If half of you are happy and half of you are not, well, hopefully everybody's going to be happy. Anyway, so yeah, there's going to be an uneven distribution of skills, right? Some folks will have done Python, some folks will have done Java, some folks will have done all sorts of different things, right? And some folks maybe this is your second semester, I don't know, right? So you might have a less. So anyway, the assignments are not going to be geared towards grading your particular level of skill in a particular technology, say Java or JavaScript or React or whatever. Right? We're going to give you as much as we can to get over the hump. Yes?
Will we be choosing what technologies we work with, or is it sort of set out?
Yeah, we have to set it so that we can grade you. We need to have a baseline and so that we can grade you across everybody, right? And give everybody kind of a same level playing field. So yeah, so we're not going to be measuring your particular understanding of React or Java or MySQL or whatnot. We'll give you as much source code as we can that is already working, okay? Because that's not the focus of this course, right? The source code, the source itself is not the focus. What your focus will be is, how you're part of the engineering problem is that you have to get up to speed. That happens in every job. Whenever you come in and you'll go for the first week or so, reading up on all the what work has been done. Somebody's going to have to sit with you and explain to you how things work. That's common on all projects. Yes, and also you'll as you go, the team changes over time and what skills they might need to learn. Right? They might have been working with plain jQuery for quite a while, and now they want us to learn Angular, and then after having realized that it was a mistake, they'll switch over to React, and you'll have to just catch up to a lot of this, right? So we'll give you as much as we can on examples and tons that you can build on, right? What your focus will be, okay, well, I'll have to plan out the fact that I don't know this, and I have to plan at least perhaps 4 hours learning my way over JPA or MySQL or whatever. Right? So that'll be part of your plan for that week, for that particular sprint, right? Learning that skill, or how to use Jest for testing, or JUnit, or whatever it is, right? That you have to plan your week. The planning part is the part that we're going to be grading you on, right? Or evaluating, because that is the topic of this course. Right? Yes, you'll have challenges. How are you addressing these challenges? Okay. All right, so lectures. Assignments, as I mentioned earlier, the assignments will be software engineering focused, right? We'll learn about requirements, we'll learn about planning, we'll learn about designing, right? And as we progress, each one of those new skills that we learn about engineering, you'll be expected to use that particular skill you learn in that particular assignment. You'll be expected to use that skill you just learned in that assignment going forward throughout the entire project. So if you learn how to represent, parse some, read through some requirements document, right? You'll be expected to perhaps document it as a use case, identify the actors, identify who the domain objects are, what are the exception cases, right? How to handle the exception cases, and then create create what are the test cases that you're going to use for testing those use cases, right? And then you need to do that for all new assignments going forward, because that's a very common thing. As you progress, you're always going to be doing requirements all throughout, especially if you use Agile, right? You have very, very high level requirements, but when you're actually going to build something, that's the time where you do most of the understanding of what the actual requirements of what you're going to build, right? So that's a skill you're going to be. Same thing for planning, same thing for designing. As you learn that particular skill, going forward, every single assignment, you'll be required to do design. You'll be required to do testing and so on and so forth. So team projects, as I mentioned earlier, it'll be teams of 9. And you split up into 3 different teams. Team 1, team 2, team 3. A form will go out later this week, asking you, to form teams. I would advise first using Piazza's team feature, which allows you to propose folks, that you're looking for folks in teams. The teams have to be of the same section. I'm sorry if you have a buddy that is in the other section you would have loved to work with. We cannot support teams going across sections. Right? It will be an administration nightmare, right? To grade folks in different sections that are in the same team. It's just not realistic with 150 students. Okay, so you have to form teams within the same section. Okay. All right. Also, there'll be as we progress throughout the semester, there'll be more and more dependencies among the different teams that are in the same organization. At first, not much, right? But as you go forward, you do. We won't have teams till I would expect by the 3rd week. So the first 2 assignments will be individual based. Right? So everybody will be expected to install certain software, right? A particular IDE, a particular database, a particular development environment. Right? You'll be expected to have a particular version of Java and Maven and whatnot. Yes? So that first assignment will ask you to do something that is only you, as an individual. So the first 2 assignments will be like that. The 3rd assignment, by then we'll have a team. By then we'll have a team, and instead of using your individual source repository, we'll have a shared source repository across the entire team. All right, and so everybody will have to join. We'll be part of the same source repository. Everybody will be expected to clone down that repository, make sure that they synchronize it, that they set up the remote repositories and whatnot, and configure, and then those assignments will start asking you to do things collectively. Right? Each assignment will have different aspects that will be individual, things that will be graded individually, you as an individual contributor to the project. Within your team, things that will be graded per team, and then as an organization. So each assignment will ask you to do things individually, things that will ask you to do things as a team, and things that will ask you to do as an organization. Okay? And there will be different aspects that you'll be graded on at the different levels. Evaluation. Really, the big part of this of the course is the assignments, right? Building this project all throughout, right? The first several assignments will mostly be perhaps things that are disparate or small portions of the project that might not be fully integrated. But towards the end, the last perhaps 3 or 4 weeks, you'll start to bring everything together and start integrating a lot of these disparate systems together with other teams or with across the organization. There will be about 6 to 8 quizzes, maybe a little more. I'm going to try to have 1 quiz per week. Right? Even if it's something trivial as asking you what does SDLC stand for, right? just a single question, even if it's something as stupid as that, there'll be something to evaluate. Right? Again, to encourage you to be here physically. There'll be a midterm right before the spring break, which will be 10%, and it'll be self-grading. It'll be on Blackboard. Right? So it'll be lots of fill in the blanks, a lot of multiple choice. Right? Maybe it'll give you some snippet of code or some UML class diagrams and ask you about designs or plans, right, or requirements, right, and ask you about that in the midterm. Same thing for the final. The midterm is obviously it'll be focused on the first half of the semester. The final will focus on the whole entire semester, and that'll be the last day of class. We'll have the final. These are the grade and how they scale the scale of grading. Makeup policy and late policy. So everything will typically be due a week after is assigned. Right? So today an assignment will go out, and typically will be due the next following Tuesday at midnight. Okay, so that'll be the normal cadence. Right? Every week a new assignment. It'll be due the next week at midnight. Right? Now if you're late so if you need just an extra day or a couple hours, that's fine. Right? You don't have to even ask. There'll be a penalty for every hour that you're late. Right? So if you need 3 more hours, that's fine. You'll be penalized 3 points of whatever you would have gotten. Okay. Obviously, if you're 100 hours late, then you lose all credit. If there's something that you're traveling or something personal, or that you know that you have a conference or whatever, obviously we can have a one-on-one. We can consider that as a one-on-one basis, and if you have to let me know beforehand, right? And we'll work with you, work around that. Obviously, it's very important that you keep your team up to date and strong in communication. We don't want to hear teammates saying, we don't know where John is. We haven't heard from him in the last set of Scrum meetings. Right? So we certainly don't want to hear that. If you see that happening quite a bit of some other folks not participating, and you having to cover for them and do some of their work, and some of your workload is impacted, you have to let me know as soon as possible. Right? We don't want to let towards the end of the semester saying, oh well, I work more than this other person. It'd be way too late, late in the semester to do anything about it. Right? So if you see a pattern where the last 2 Scrum meetings this particular folk has not participated, you have to let me know early. All right? We cannot retroactively go back and penalize anybody. Right? It's very, very cumbersome. So you have to let me know early. And that's also part of the software engineering, communication as early as possible. If you know that you're not going to hit something, and the earlier you let everybody else know, the better. Right? No, we try to eliminate surprises. Assignments, I thought we talked about it already. Integrity. Using somebody else's work, obviously no. You're not allowed to use somebody else's work. Obviously, you're going to be working in teams. Right? You're going to be looking at everybody, folks in your same team. That makes sense. You're all going to have access to the same source control. Right? So obviously, source amongst yourself makes sense, right? Unless there is something specific that you are asked to do individually. Right? If it's individual, it's meant for you to do it all by yourself. If something that is meant to you in a team, obviously you have access to everybody else's source code in that team or in that organization. Right? You should not make use of any other source code other than what is expected, especially if maybe you solve this in some other course, right? In some other repository. That's a no-no. You cannot use source code from other courses, even if it's your own. If it's your own repo and you solved it this summer, it says, "Ooh, I did that this summer. Let me copy that." No, you cannot do that. Right? Well, actually, you can. You have to say, you have to specify if you're copying 2 or 3 lines of code, more than that, you have to let the graders and myself know, right? And reference. It's fine. I mean, it's okay to go to Stack Overflow and see a particular solution and don't reinvent the wheel. That's okay, right? But be honest about it, right? And give a proper reference. Yes.
What's the policy regarding adding dependencies to the project that solve like small subsets of problems? Like say you want a package that just handles like routing or something.
Yeah, totally. Of course. Yep.
What if it's your own package that you wrote previously?
Sure, as long as you reference it. Yeah.
Same rules.
Yes. Yep. Everything. If you reference everything, you can't go wrong. Right. Do not try to deceive. That's the whole point. Right. And obviously, if you're not sure, ask. Right. Please ask. But don't. If if we're in doubt, it's better to make sure that we're all in the same page. Right. It's very uncomfortable having to report folks, but I am required to report any any activity that I might think that might be suspicious, right? Not particular for my particular course, but there might be some recurring pattern that this particular student might have across multiple other courses, right? And folks and the authorities want to identify these patterns. Maybe it's not as egregious in my particular course, but somebody might have done something else in some other course that I might not be aware of. So the authorities want to know these kinds of things, right? Is it something that is repeating across multiple courses? So I need to report these to Oscar. Academic integrity, cheating, fabrication, plagiarism. So you should read that. There's a link to the academic integrity policy. I recommend you read through that. Make sure you understand consequences. Classroom environment. We're all adults, so we should all be respectful. Certainly, feel free to ask, and do not harass somebody else for asking stupid questions. There is no stupid questions. Please feel free to ask anytime. And one thing I would ask is that not to type or start browsing or playing games or things like that. It's distracting to me and to folks that sit right behind you that are looking to your screen instead of looking at the lecture. It's disrespectful to everyone else, right? And also, please do not talk amongst yourself, right? As interesting as it might be, if you want to have share with everyone else, please do so, all right? Just be respectful. That's all. Title IX. If you have disabilities, all right. Any questions? Yes.
You said that on the Fridays we're going to be doing more hands-on stuff.
Yes.
Should we kind of follow along on our own computers in that portion, or should we just
No, it'd be better if you just you're a passive collaborator and you just follow along. Right, the videos will be available, so if you want to later on look at it and pause and whatnot, then it also will be providing in the videos. We'll be providing links to the source that we went through, so you have in the repository, so you can follow along everything that we've done. So passive collaborator, and then you can look at it at your own pace if you want to look at it again. All right.